He shouldn't be here. Single dad fixes impossible race car. The engine had been dead for 3 hours. And every mechanic on the payroll had already given up and walked away from it. That silence in the garage, the kind that follows failure, was louder than any noise the car had ever made. In less than 24 hours, the number 22 GT3 needed to fire back to life for the biggest race of the season, or the entire team's sponsorship, reputation, and future would collapse in front of the whole racing world. And the woman standing with her arms crossed, watching a man in worn-out shoes step past 3 certified engineers toward that car, had already decided in her mind that he shouldn't be here. If this story about second chances and quiet dignity is moving you already, take a second right now to like this video. Drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. Share it with someone who needs a little hope today. And subscribe to Kindness Corner, because stories like this deserve to be seen by more hearts. Marcus Bell had walked into Apex Racing that morning, wearing a faded jacket and carrying nothing but a small toolbox that had belonged to his father. He wasn't a certified technician. He didn't have a diploma hanging on a wall or a fancy resume. What he had was 7 years of experience keeping his late father's old towing business alive. Learning engines the hard way, under naked bulbs in a garage that flooded every time it rained. He had a 6-year-old daughter named Zoe waiting for him at his sister's apartment, a stack of unpaid bills on the kitchen counter, and a job interview that morning that he almost didn't attend because he didn't own a proper collared shirt. He had only come to Apex Racing because his cousin, one of the shop's cleaners, mentioned they were desperate. The team's prize GT3 race car had suffered a mysterious electrical failure 2 days before the championship qualifiers, and 3 of the best-paid mechanics in the state couldn't find the problem. Out of options and pride swallowed whole, the team's operations director, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Elena Ruiz, had reluctantly agreed to let outside help take a look, more out of desperation than faith. But the moment Marcus walked in, work boots scuffed, hands already stained from years of grease that never fully washed out, she felt her stomach tighten with doubt. This was a 7-figure car. This was not a place for guesswork. This was not a place for a man who looked like he had walked in from a tow yard, rather than a racetrack. The 3 senior mechanics folded their arms and watched from a distance, their silence saying more than words ever could. Marcus felt their eyes on his back as he approached the open hood, and for a moment, doubt crept into his own heart too. What if he was wrong? What if this was one more door slamming shut in a year that had already taken so much from him? But then he thought of Zoe, of the way she had hugged him that morning and told him, without knowing anything about cars, that she believed in him. That was enough to steady his hands. He didn't rush. He didn't perform for the crowd. He simply listened, really listened, running his fingers along wiring harnesses, tracing connections the way his father once taught him when they'd resurrect old delivery trucks that everyone else called scrap. 20 minutes passed. Then 30. Elena's patience was fraying, and she finally stepped forward to tell him this had been a mistake, that she couldn't risk the team's biggest race on an unlicensed stranger's intuition. But something in Marcus's calm, focused expression made her pause, the words in her throat. He had found it. A hairline crack in a sensor housing, hidden beneath a bundle of wires that the professional diagnostic machines had completely missed because they were only trained to search for common failures. Not this one. It was so small, so easy to overlook, yet it had been sending faulty signals that confused the entire ignition system. It wasn't a mechanical failure at all. It was something almost invisible, something only patience and lived experience could uncover. The garage went completely silent as Marcus explained what he'd found, his voice steady despite the intimidating audience. Elena crouched beside him, studying the crack herself, disbelief slowly giving way to something else entirely. The 3 mechanics exchanged uneasy glances, the kind that come when pride collides with truth. If he was right, months of the team's own investigation had been overshadowed by amateur eyes and a father's old lessons passed down through years of necessity. Not certification. They gave him the chance to fix it. Not because they fully trusted him yet, but because they had nothing left to lose. Marcus worked through the night, hands moving with quiet confidence, memories of his father's voice guiding every motion. Elena stayed long after her shift ended, watching him work, watching the dedication in his eyes, watching a man who had every reason to feel intimidated, refused to let that feeling control him. Somewhere around 2 inches the morning, she asked him quietly why he hadn't mentioned that he used to run his own repair shop before it collapsed under medical bills from his wife's illness. Before she passed away and left him raising Zoe alone. Marcus simply said that some stories don't feel like something to boast about. They feel like something to survive. By sunrise, the engine roared to life on the first try. The sound cut through the garage like a heartbeat returning to a body given up for lost. The 3 mechanics who doubted him were the first to step forward and shake his hand. Their earlier arrogance replaced by quiet respect. Elena, who just hours earlier had been ready to escort him out the door, now stood beside him with tears she tried to blink away, telling him that Apex Racing needed people like him not despite his background, but because of it. The team went on to win that championship race. Their car roaring across the finish line stronger and faster than it had ever run before. But for Marcus, the real victory wasn't the trophy raised in the winner's circle. It was walking through the door that evening to find Zoe running toward him, asking if he had fixed the broken car, and being able to tell her yes, and watching her tiny face light up. Like he had just told her he'd conquered the whole world. Marcus was offered a full-time position at Apex Racing that same week, a place where his father's old lessons finally found the honor they deserved. In a world that so often overlooks people simply because of how they look, or where they came from. If this story touched your heart even a little, please take a moment to like this video, and share it with someone who might need a reminder that second chances are real, that quiet dedication is never invisible forever, and that dignity often walks in wearing the most unexpected shoes. And before we go, we have one small request. Please comment the word believe if you think Marcus deserved this moment, and if you feel like second chances can still find anyone, no matter how impossible the odds look, because sometimes the person everyone doubts is exactly the one the moment was waiting for.